In drawing the human figure, artistic anatomy, basically the foundation of artistic anatomy is the human skeleton. So a good thing to begin with if you have an interest in learning how to draw the human figure well is to really have a great knowledge of the skeletal structure and how all the individual parts combine and fit together and all the points of articulation. It's very helpful for proportion, adding muscle structure, and then moving things around to create emotion and so forth in the final product. But today what I would like to speak a little bit about is just a quick overview of the skeleton, and then I will break down individual parts so that we can learn some of the more specific details of each of those areas. But to begin with, the top section here, we have the human skull. The rib cage, is known as the thoracic cage. We have both of these, the common term is collarbone, but these are the clavicles. And on our upper extremity, this is our arm. This is the humerus. The bone that you see here, and I like to think of it as the bone that radiates across, is known as the radius. The other bone that we have in our lower arm, this is the ulna. And then we have a group of little bones here that are known as the carpals. The next line after that is the metacarpals. And then in our fingers, we have the phalanges. I'll cover more extensively the detail of the bones of the hand a little bit later on. So after we have the skull, clavicles, thoracic cage, we have the humerus, we have the radius and the ulna, we have the carpals, metacarpals, and phalanges. The middle of our thoracic cage here is the sternum. There are three different parts to the sternum. The top part is the manubrium, the middle is the gladiolus, and the bottom little section here is the xiphoid. Dropping down lower, then we now have our pelvis. The large bone in our upper leg right here, this is the femur. The sesamoid bone that we have right here, this is our patella. Then we drop down into the lower leg, we have the tibia. The little bone that's here on the outside is the fibula. Then we get into our feet, we have the tarsal bones, we have the metatarsals, and we also have phalanges in our feet. So that's, and this is the skeletal structure in the anterior view. Next, I'll turn this around and we will then talk about the posterior view. So now, looking here at the posterior view, which is the rear view of the human skeleton, we can now see the back portion of the skull. This is the occipital portion, and I'll go more extensively into detail about the skull a little bit later on. Then we have our vertebral column. We have our cervical vertebrae. We have our thoracic vertebrae. We have the lumbar vertebrae. Then we have the sacrum, and down here we have the coccyx. So that is the vertebral column. The two triangular shaped bones we see on our back, this is the scapula. And again, now here we can see the back view of the upper extremity of the arm, and this is the humerus. And the area here that forms the hinge joint, this is the ulna, and down here is the head of the ulna. And we have the radius, and now we can see the back of the hand, we see the carpals. The next row of bones here is the metacarpals. Then we have the phalanges, and these are known as digits of the hand. An important thing to notice is, especially true of the mammals, you always have one bone, followed by two bones, followed by lots of little bones, followed by digits. That's a common thing you can look through or look for in a variety of animals. Now we have the back side here of the pelvis. Now you can see the back of the femur, the bone that juts out here to the side. This portion of the femur is known as the great trochanter. The bony process that's here on the inside is the lesser trochanter. And then now we come down, we can see clearly the back of the tibia and the outside of the fibula. And we see the heel bone here on the back of the foot, and that is the calcaneus. And that is one of the tarsal bones. So that covers more or less, gives you a quick overview of the posterior view of the human skeleton. Next, we'll turn this to the side and we'll just do a quick run over of the lateral view of the human skeleton. And now moving on to this is the lateral view of the human skeleton. Again, starting at the top, this is the human skull. Then we have the vertebral column that comes down here, and it's an S shape. We have the cervical vertebrae. We have the thoracic vertebrae. The lower section is the lumbar. Then we have the sacrum, and the little tail down here at the end, this is the coccyx. The triangular portion, this bony area here, this is the scapula. On the front side here, we have the clavicle. Again, this is the thoracic cage. Then our upper extremity, this is the humerus. We can see now here the radius. We see the ulna. It's the one bone, two bones, followed by lots of little bones, followed by digits. So it's the humerus, radius, ulna, carpals, metacarpals, and then our fingers are phalanges. This section here is the pelvis. We have a ball and socket joint, and this is the femur connecting to the pelvis. The tuberosity here that's on the outside, this bony process, this is the great trochanter. That's an important landmark when you're drawing the human figure. Then it's followed by the rest of the femur coming down, the lateral view again. Then this little sesamoid bone here on the front, that is our patella. The next we see here is the head of the fibula here on the outside. And we have the tibia. And on the back side here of the foot, we have the calcaneus, which is one of the tarsal bones. We have 7 tarsals. And then we have the metatarsals followed by our phalanges. So this is the lateral view of the human skeleton.